everyone, welcome to another episode of our Trust and Safety Talks. Today we are joined by Tony Allen, who's a chartered trading standards practitioner with over 25 years of experience in age-restricted sales, law, and practice. He's the chair of the UK government's expert panel on age restrictions and executive director of AVID Certification Services Limited. Tony is also the technical editor of the current international standards for age assurance systems. I once again welcome you, Tony.
Good to be here. Thank you very much for inviting me along.
So I would like to begin by asking you if you can share a bit more about yourself and your work and what are your recent updates on age assurance in the UK?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Tony. I'm Chief Executive of the Age Check certification scheme. So what we do is we test that ID and age check systems work. It's an independent third-party conformity assessment accredited by UCAS. And it basically takes any age verification or age estimation or age inference service provider and puts them through their paces and tests whether or not it works. We test it in different lighting, we test it with different materials, we test it with different documents, with different data, and we assess whether or not it actually works and whether it will produce an age assurance output. I am also the editor of the International Standard on Age Assurance, ISO 27566. Which is currently working its way through approval processes. And I am involved in a wide range of age assurance policy activities across different parts of the world, including some clients we have in India, some work we're doing in Australia at the moment, across the European Union, and I've been giving expert evidence in court in some of the US states that are introducing age restrictions there too.
That's really wonderful because I feel age assurance is one of the standards that needs to be adopted by all the countries where we talk about child safety as well. So looking from that lens, and if I have to ask you, how have age assurance systems evolved with advancement in technology and how does it contribute to public trust in online and offline environments? If you could give us a light on that.
Yeah, I mean, age assurance can be done. I mean, there's been lots of debate about whether it can be done or can't be done. It can be done. The technology now exists to be able to do it. The technology exists to be able to do it in a privacy-preserving and secure manner, so that you're not sharing, large amounts of data with the providers of the age-restricted goods, content, or services. It's a rapidly evolving technology. It's getting better and better, and it's also getting cheaper and cheaper as well, as it does more volume and bulk. The cost per check is coming down to, in the region of 10 to 12 US cents per check. So, and that's from a starting point of around about $1 to $1.50 US, even 5 years ago. So it is coming down. It's coming down very rapidly and quickly. The technology is getting more and more accurate as you get to be able to have age estimation, AI, algorithms, and how it approaches doing that. But equally, the technology is opening to new threats and new threat vectors. So deepfake presentation attack, video injection attack are two types of things that can, undermine the way in which it works. So it's important that you have resilient, secure systems, privacy-preserving systems, as well as functional operating systems.
Very rightly said. Deepfakes with technology, the threats are rising, and when we know that age assurance is a bit critical area as well. And so, how do you balance the need for accuracy and accurate age assurance with concerns about user privacy?
Exactly. So, basically, age assurance can be done. The thing that you compromise potentially in age assurance by doing it is privacy, security, and the user experience. So the question is a question of balance of risks. So the first thing you have to identify is what is the risk that you're seeking to prevent? So if it's at the kind of higher end of things, where you might be seeking, for instance, to ensure that the actors and actresses that appear on screen in adult entertainment are adults and not children, that's at the very, very high end of risk there. Versus if you've got, you've got transparency information that you want to share with people in an age-appropriate way. So you might want to explain your terms and conditions, I don't know, in a cartoon or something like that. You can develop that so it's suitable for an age-appropriate audience. Obviously, that's a really low risk. It doesn't matter if somebody outside of that age group sees that transparency information. It's just, and so you've got this range of risks to apply. And then from that, you then have effectively greater levels of data that you might have to supply to be able to meet those levels of assurance. But you've got to protect that against the privacy of the individuals, the security of that data, the accessibility of the system, and its functional effectiveness. So it's all a balancing act. But fundamentally, it should be driven by the risk and the proportionality of what you then do with that risk is dependent on how risky you think the access to it is.
While you talk about risk, and I want to bring in here the concept of the digital platforms, not the concept, but yeah, to talk about digital platforms over here. So, what do you think that these companies should take as a measure to enhance trust and safety when dealing with age-restricted products or services?
So, a number of steps they should take. Really, the first step is to be very clear and understand what their company provides, what goods, services, content they have that could need to be age restricted. So some things are dictated by law. So for instance, the sale of alcohol or the sale of tobacco or those sorts of things are restricted by law. Some things are restricted by kind of their own community guidelines. So they may well have their own rules that they apply, and some things may be coming down the line with restrictions, and some things they may decide to restrict just because they want to be a good company that doesn't have that kind of material on their service. So, for instance, the examples of that are diet information, where get some companies that have taken a decision that they don't want to be propagating weight loss and diet materials and things like that because there's issues with that with children and their body image, and so they voluntarily choose not to do it. So your first stage is to have a clear view of what it is that you provide. Your second stage is then to have a clear view of your audience. So who are the people that are coming to your site or your shop or your space? And what do they look like? What are they? Not in an individual basis, but in terms of what age groups are they? Is your site particularly attractive to children? Is it something that really only adults look at? And that gives you an idea of your audience. And if you need to, if the risk dictates this, then your assessment of your audience should be through an age assurance process. So you've got a clear age banding and grouping of them. And then the third thing is to design and develop your service so that it delivers age appropriate content, services, and goods to your audience. So that then sort of builds that trust and confidence amongst your user group and your community and your stakeholders. And then the last thing I would say is get it checked. There's no point in saying you built it and then not getting it checked. So get it checked, get it certified, get it as independently assessed, be transparent about what you're doing, and ensure that you provide your users with access to your evidence of conformity assessment.
So two key points that really stuck my mind was the design part, right? When that also comes under the safety by design protocol, that all these products that are shaped for user safety with respect to children, because the usage also varies across the globe. Some say 16, some say 13, some say 18. So the whole debate of who can access when is also very, a food for thought for us to think about it. And then designing of the policies and the framework. That is something complex, and I'm sure the tech companies will look into this when they're designing their products and policies, especially for users. and user safety. So earlier this year, we were together for the whole global age assurance standard summit in Manchester, where there were international bodies, there were interactions were also happening. So how do you think that international cooperations be improved to create a more cohesive framework for age and identity assurance?
Yeah, well, this is the same problem everywhere. In India is not unique in looking at this challenge. It is being looked at literally in every single country of the world. In pretty much every country in the world, there are age restrictions in place. There are only really about 3 or 4 countries in the world that don't have laws that relate to age restrictions on things. And so the same problem applies everywhere. And actually, the approach that you take to it is broadly the same everywhere as well. So you're either doing it by some sort of verification against some sort of authoritative document or ID system, such as Aadhaar in India, or the EU DI wallet in the European Union, or you're doing it using some sort of algorithm or analysis, analytics. Those are the same everywhere. So that tends to indicate that if you can agree the core of what age assurance is at a global level, you should be able to provide a global marketplace, a global choice of service providers that you can then use within your local context. So that's really the aim behind the international standards, that we get to a point where India may be able to say, well, we want to have a ISO 27566 compliant age assurance system here. They need to do the core things in 27566, but they've got a couple of extra things that we need to do in India because it's specific to the Indian context. As an example, linking to Aadhaar might be one that's specific to the Indian context, whereas you wouldn't have that in Australia, for instance. They'd link to something different. So you'd have to think about that.
Definitely, somewhere also there is a debate about linking your government ID to your channels as well. Let's see how it proceeds and how it goes about, and how helpful it becomes for everybody who is accessing big tech platforms, digital platforms, and also the internet. So to ask you next, how do you foresee the role of artificial intelligence improving age assurance systems? Because that is something, the area which is growing. Artificial intelligence is coming big time into picture, and the usage is growing. So how do you see that?
So I think with artificial intelligence, you've got both an opportunity and a threat. The opportunity is that there is definitely opportunity to use AI and generative AI and algorithms and the development of technologies and things like profile analysis and all those sorts of things that come with large language models and AI machine learning processes to get a better understanding of that audience and that audience you are engaging with and how old they are and all that sort of thing. So on the one side, it's definitely there as an opportunity. On the other side, though, it's definitely there as a threat because the systems are, generally speaking, based on access to information. If that information is AI generated, then that's an opportunity for or a threat to actually manipulate the data that's going into the AI system. Now, be that data from what is a pretend authoritative source in relation to your identity, so a spoof of data, a spoof of an ID document, a spoof of a digital ID passport or wallet, or be that a spoof of your face, or if I can simply hold my phone up, take a picture of me and say, make me look 10 years older and show that to the camera, that's not going to be very good for your age estimation process. So AI represents both a huge opportunity to improve the efficiency of and effectiveness of age assurance systems, but also a threat to security and integrity of those systems too.
I totally agree on that point, especially on the part of threat, because that is where we need more solutions. When AI is growing, when AI is being adapted, we need to also think into the solution models of it, how to kind of back it when this can just be a platform for more threat. And how do you see the relationship and ties between India and UK? Because we have a very good kind of relationship internationally, but when we talk about age assurance, how do you think that the two can come together? And because a lot is being talked about in the UK, but in India, we're still kind of, trying to look into the aspects of age assurance. So how can we bring the two together?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, the UK and India has a very strong heritage and economic ties and cultural ties and relationship and obviously both countries this year are both going through big elections. You've just completed your election with a new government being formed. We've got one coming up in less little over a week's time, where I think there's an expectation that we're going to get a new government here in the UK. Obviously, it depends how the vote goes for us. But I think, notwithstanding that, there is a move globally to develop online safety legislation. The UK has the Online Safety Act, which it will be bringing into force. I mean, subject to the new government continuing with it, which I don't think there's much chance that they're not, but you never know. But that's meant to come into force next year. And the UK has really led the world on age assurance. A lot of the standards have been sponsored by BSI, the UK's national standards body. I think is it INB, the India National Standards Body, as well, has been heavily involved in that and contributing to those through the international groups. I think there's also a lot of opportunity for research and development in science and technology. The UK and India have a bilateral agreement and pact on science and technology innovation. I think looking at some of it's around farming and around healthcare and around chemical industries. But I think that will evolve into online safety and online issues as well. And so there's potentially opportunity to work in partnership on projects and programs around that.
Definitely, and I look forward to more such opportunities between India and UK when it comes to science and technology and development, especially in the realm of online safety. So keeping my fingers crossed and looking into more opportunities over there. So to ask you next, what are your future goals and projects in the realm of trust and safety, particularly regarding age assurance?
Yeah, I think sort of my 5-year outlook is first of all, I think the international standards will be in place probably mid to late next year. I think the industry will then start to align around those standards and start to become certified against them and start to provide their products and services in a way that they can demonstrate is compliant with those standards. And so by the time you get to 5 years' time, I think it'll be normalized. Age assurance will be part of the fabric of what we have. I also think that the governments of the world have I can describe it as crossed the Rubicon of thinking that they can regulate the internet. So if you think up to maybe 3 or 4 years ago, governments were like almost scared to regulate the internet, almost scared to say this is something we can control. And so there was all this, it's bigger than any individual country, it's global, the way it works means you can't regulate it. I think that has passed. I think governments around the world are going, no, there's absolutely no reason why we can't regulate this for the purposes of ensuring the safety, particularly the safety of children online, which is a kind of concept that almost everybody can get behind and get into agreement, at least with the concept, if not how to actually do it. So I think age assurance will become normalized. I think it'll be covered by regulation around the world. And I think it will be implemented increasingly across the global platforms. And I think we might look back and go, this last few years, we might look back and go, oh, what on earth were we doing previously before we had any of that? And it was just the Wild West and anybody could see anything they wanted.
Certainly. So I quickly want you to brief the viewers talking about the importance of age assurance, because I think so it's good to break that down and people to even hear why age assurance is important so that we get the concept as a whole.
Yeah, so age assurance is a collective term that's being used to describe effectively 3 types of approach. So the first one is age verification. Age verification is where you basically compute the date between when they were born and the date today, and then it gives you how old they are. So the when they were born is from an official record. It could be an IT, a data record, or it could be an official document like your passport or your identity card or whatever. And then you calculate what the date is today, and then that tells you how old they are. That's the process of age verification. The second one is age estimation, where you don't bother with any documents or any data or anything like that. You just basically look at the person, or you assess the person for things that vary with age, the things about you that change with age. So your face, as you get older, we look older. The size of your hand, as you get older, your hand grows. Your voice, as you get older, your voice changes. All those things, and there's many other factors as well about you that change with age, enable you to be able to say, is this person an adult or a child? Is this person over 21, over 18, over 30, over 60, or whatever? And then the third one is a process called age inference. And that's where the existence of a different fact enables you to infer that that person is an adult. So there's lots of examples of this, but let's say, for instance, you're a commercial airline pilot. Yeah, you've got to be, in most parts of the world, you've got to be at least 21 to be a commercial airline pilot. So the fact that you are a commercial airline pilot, you can infer that that person is at least 21. And that's called age inference. And there could be others related to, if you've got a credit card, not a debit card, but a credit card, the fact that you have a credit card and that you're able to use it could be inferred that you're over 18 to have that card. Or if you are married, that's another way that you could infer that somebody is, in most countries, over 16. Some countries it's 14, some countries it's 18, but depending on where you are, you could infer that the fact that somebody is married indicates that they are over the age of legal ability to be married. There's loads of reasons, and those three very distinct methods of doing age assurance add up to be what we call age assurance.
Thank you for summarizing age assurance for us and for the viewers who is watching on this video with our expert and subject matter expert, Tony Allen. And thank you, Tony, for your time and for giving your valuable inputs for this discussion today and for adding value to our talk. So before I sign off, I quickly want to ask you, who would be that one person that you would want to recommend for a chat next? And we would love to host the person.
Julie Inman Grant. Julie is the E-Safety Commissioner for Australia. They did a lot of research and work on the roadmap that they did for Australia. And I think she would be a good person to interview, although have you already interviewed her as well?
Thank you. We'll connect with Julie and probably we'll get to see her very soon on our chat. And we will tell her that Tony has recommended you for a chat and we'll definitely get her on board.